right, welcome back, everybody. Pat, what's going on, bud?
Hey Ben, what's happening?
Living the dream, brother. I we talked a little bit about it for today's episode, man, and I think I'm gonna go on a rant here because you got some things for me to that I'm pretty excited about. You're kind of the figure guy, so I figured I'd just go on a rant and blindly see if you have figures for this kind of stuff. You ready for
Well, maybe.
it? I'm hoping you are. Back me up. So we talked the last week or the last episode, not last week, about just the decline that we're seeing within political parties and the BS and now Kamala and all this crap. And today, skip the frickin' BS about left, right politics. Let's skip all that and let's just talk about what the hell has to be done to return this country to some semblance of what it was before, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we were at when we decided we wanted to do this. Like we weren't trying to get left and right.
Hmm.
That's always going to come in. Like just we are who we are. We support who we support, and our ideas are where they are, right?
Right.
So, that's always going to come through. But just going back, like we talked about it a little bit, so I think I know where you're headed, and I do have some. I'll dig through them while you go on your rant. But just going back and where the fuck are we? How did we get here?
What has
And
gone wrong?
and not even that much because that's going to get back into the politics of it. Just what is wrong?
Right.
Like let's start with just
Let's
what is
come to a
going on.
let's come to a consensus of where we are and where we
Yeah.
want to
Yep.
go. And
Yep.
you decide for yourself if
For
Kamala or
sure.
Trump is your candidate based
100%.
off of this crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sh like I said, we've talked about military and our profession. It's apolitical, right? You don't you don't have the luxury of being left or right. You still vote for your candidate. You still have your political, thoughts behind your ideology, right? But
Mm-hmm.
at some point, everyone in this country has to understand the problems that we're facing and just put that shit aside and pick who will be best to get us back to the beginning. And once we're back at the beginning, then we can reach hands across the aisle and figure out the rest of the stuff. But if we don't do that, um, we're in trouble. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go down, here we are. This is kind of the state of our nation right now, and I'm just gonna point out a bunch of crap and see what you think about it.
Got
So, I mean, everyone knows right now inflation is absolutely ridiculous, right? Everything sucks. The cost of housing is ridiculous. It's almost like the American dream now for anybody under, 30 is pretty much impossible at this point because of where things are. Mortgage rates are almost unaffordable with doubled housing prices in a lot of places. Um, Food prices are insane. We've talked about that where you go to the grocery store and you get to the checkout counter and you're like, holy crap, my dollar is buying a lot less in terms of goods, commodities, foods, all that stuff, right? Gas prices are out of control. I mean, it depending where you are in the country, it's like 350 to, 425 or even higher. I've heard some places out on the West Coast. It's unbelievable. Crime has exploded. I mean, just about everywhere crime has gone up, even though the numbers of reportings has gone down. You've brought that up in the past where it's kind of being shielded. But crime has gone up, and I'll use it as an example. I have a family that just moved into our town here, and they're from the inner city. When I asked them, why'd you choose this town, a small town? What's the deal? And the answer is it's just dangerous. It's too dangerous now in the inner cities. It's too dangerous in Minneapolis, too dangerous in St. Paul. They don't want to live in the surrounding suburbs because crime is reaching into those areas. They wanted to get
mm-hmm.
away. So they
Mm-hmm.
chose, they came here. Border is wide open, right? We know that. We've seen all the problems with the border being wide open. We've seen all the stuff with illegal immigrants and crime and being, not removed from our country when they commit crimes. We've seen that. We've seen the people that are being harmed by it, the people that are being hurt by it, the fentanyl, all that crap that's going on. On top of that, we talked about the child trafficking that's come through with the border. I mean, they're just being sent out for labor trafficking, sex trafficking, and all sorts of crap. That's going on. Looking at it in geopolitical, China has started becoming aggressive with movements in the Arctic. That's ridiculous. If they create a land bridge, or even if they create some sort of pathway through water with ice breaking or whatever it is that they're going to do up in the Arctic, uh, this the U.S. control over certain areas of ocean. certain ports and certain uh, canals is useless at that point. And they're becoming way more aggressive with claiming they're a near Arctic nation and trying to gain resources in the Arctic. I mean, that's absolute. I never knew China was a near Arctic nation,
Yeah.
but that's what they're trying to do. We've seen them with movement being aggressive around Taiwan, with support for Russia, Iran, Syria, Lebanon, North Korea, Venezuela. I mean, take your pick. They even just brokered peace agendas between, rival terrorist nations, and basically in that agenda was like, hey, you know what? Stop hating each other and start hating the West, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's awesome that that's taken place. They're involved in Afghanistan, where we just now realize we're sending $90 million a month to the Taliban for what I have no idea. And the Taliban's turning around and providing safe havens for numerous terrorist organizations that are now training and planning attacks against the West. We know that's a thing. And that's coming straight from rebel commanders who are trying to get the United States to stop sending money under the Biden administration to frickin' Taliban because it's this giant battle taking place in Afghanistan that's not being talked about, and it's going to come back to bite our kids in the ass because they're going to have to go back there and finish the job that we never did. On the other side of that, we have Russia supporting North Korea looking for new age delivery systems for nuclear warheads. That's going to come from Russia or China. We have Israel entering into a broader conflict, trying to save their nation. The You saw the BB Netanyahu on Capitol Hill and how that went. In our country, we have civil unrest brought everywhere by the far left. We have white kids burning American flags next to Palestinians, screaming about hating America. We have colleges indoctrinating our youth, and we have high school boards trying to do the same at high school levels. We have DEI destroying our military. We have weakened national stance everywhere. Uh, we have a near depleted national reserve for fuel because, that's what we did to try to lower our gas prices. And I think you said we lowered them, what, 1 cent?
It was 1 cent.
1 cent, right?
Yeah, the last time they did it over the 4th of July. The
Yeah.
national average lowered it 1 cent.
Yeah. They released a
And
million barrels.
that was everywhere. Like that was widespread, like just a joke.
Yep. And it's what it's become, right? We have lower recruitment numbers in the military. And again, our equipment is starting to be mothballed, right? Which means the next president that comes in is going to have to spend a ton of money to keep our military up to where it should be, right? We have initiatives to kill gas stoves, gas furnaces, oil drilling contracts, fracking, and anything pertaining to fossil fuels. Honestly, it feels like none of this doesn't seem to be like a real concern for anybody on the left, and probably a half or two-thirds of the Republican Party. Nobody trusts our governing bodies. Nobody trusts our investigative bodies. They don't trust the FBI. They don't trust ATF. They don't trust any federal agency that's in charge of conducting investigations. They just don't. They don't trust our media. They don't trust any information that comes out. And it seems like any information you get, you almost have to go and research for yourself because it's tainted one way or the other for propaganda purposes. And we're starting to see giant failures inside of our own nation. Now, that is a massive amount of stuff where, for me, where I'm looking at things when I'm choosing a candidate this time around, I'm basing it off of, a portion of that. Maybe my candidate that I'm going to pick isn't going to be able to fix all that because this is just obviously a nation in decline at this point and due to bad policies and bad fiscal responsibilities. But I don't know if there's any more to add to that. I'm sure there's a lot more to add to that I didn't touch. But
Well, you didn't talk about, I mean, are you just talking about where we are, uh, like from a standpoint of policies, or like I'm not sure where you want to go. Do you want to talk about what the policies that put us there? You just want to talk about us being there and what we think the election will be about?
I
Because
guess,
like we didn't talk about the student loan bailout,
yeah, that's another one.
right? Like so like not even getting into like policy stuff. This is just people are pissed off about it. People are pissed off about inflation. People are pissed off about the jobs markets. Yes, everyone's hiring. The wages aren't that great.
Right.
Wages have gone down. Well, I
Hmm.
mean, when you include inflation and all that, so the cost of the dollar,
Right. I mean, 40
or
cents of our
the
dollars being
value
paid to
of the
debt.
dollar,
Right.
um, yeah, I you've crime's way up. They keep saying that it's down because They changed the reporting requirements, right? So
Hmm.
NYPD, LAPD, all these police departments don't report anymore. Chicago doesn't report. It's like you see these crime statistics and it's not the full. I've got an article here that says that, um, and this was from a left leading outlet that said that crime data shows it's lower, but that's not the full picture. Experts warn that you will be deceived by the numbers. Like
Right.
this isn't a full thing anymore. They
No.
don't the FBI used to require all law enforcement agencies report their data, and now they do not. So
Well, I mean,
you're not even getting all of the left uh cities that don't want their that hide the numbers from their own people.
right. They have
They're
to.
not, yeah.
And I mean, I guess that's the biggest thing that is happening right now is how do you, as a nation, I mean, our governing body, our whole institution, the whole experiment that we are with this constitutional republic is meant for we the people to be in control of our own destiny. We do that by hiring our political officials by electing them, right? We say you're hired, you get the job. How do we ever choose or do anything or maintain control when we don't even get to have the real numbers? We don't get to have the facts. The transparency is totally gone, right? The system is broken. The system is broken and it's rigged at this point. And here we sit, we're on the verge of the next election. And I, I'll be honest, you've said it too. Like, we haven't heard much about policies from anybody.
Yeah.
It's been a battle of he's old, he's a mushhead, he's Orange Man bad. There's been no substantial talks about policies, and we need to get to the point of like, okay, this is what we need fixed, and it's not a right or a left issue. It is an American issue, and that's where it needs to be, right? You're pointing out
Mhm.
all these things. It doesn't affect you if you're just on the left. It doesn't affect you if you're just on the right. It's affecting all of us equally. Um, Unfortunately, what you see with a lot of these protesters, the you know, far left and even the far right protesters, is they're a bunch of people who probably don't have jobs. They're, you and I and the rest of us hardworking people, the blue collar folks, are supporting them so they can go out and do whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? They're taking the free
Mhm.
money that we're providing them with our backbreaking labor, and they're just they're milking it. And on the same side of it, they're fighting against us who just are trying to fix the system so that we can stop being taken advantage of, and they don't care. That's part of the problem too. They don't care. They're going to continue to do what they want to move their agenda. And really they're kind of just the foot soldiers for what we're seeing in this country, which is the corruption, man. I mean, that's what it is. That's what we're
Mhm.
seeing.
Yeah.
That shit needs to be handled because it's disgusting. I'm tired of paying for you not to work, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Tired of having 40% of my wages essentially garnished so that you can have, free money to do what? To sit at home, play video games until your buddies from whatever organization group call you up and say, "Hey, we're going to go protest because Bibi Netanyahu's coming to Capitol Hill. We're going to grab some American flags and burn these American flags and link arms with Palestinians who hate Americans and we're going to hoot and holler and all that crap on Capitol Hill." I'm tired of that bullshit. I'm tired of it. And I think that goes for every average American who's got to pay more for, like you said, for gas and for
Everything.
everything. Do you have
Everything.
do you have any numbers that you can put together, like show, like you're kind of the number guy here. I know that. So do you have anything you've put together to show like what it used to be and what it is?
Yeah, I do have an article. Hold on, let me find it. I have an article that's talks about grocery prices. So grocery prices are kind of a weird thing to look at. You can find articles that say, oh, they're up like 8,000%. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but when you look at them, um, so I printed one, I think it was from the New York Post, and they're talking about the national average from 2020 to the current price in New York City. The only problem with that is the 2020 national average was also not the price of New York City, right? So it's already going to be skewed off of that. Now, if they'd used the price in New York City in 2020 and the price today in New York, or they
Right.
use the national average in 2020 and the national average today, it'd be different. But
Right.
um that said, so like just the price. I'm just gonna give the price. I'm not gonna give the percentages because that's just I know it's misleading and I'm not gonna do it.
Well, it
But I'll
sounds
tell you
like
that the current prices in New York are enough to make you what the hell, you
right. I think
know?
it sounds like the New York Post. What they're trying to do there is be like, why the hell, New Yorkers? You should be pissed about what we're
Yes.
paying against the national
Well,
average.
yeah, except for it gives a price increase, and that's not
Mhm.
honest. Like you can be pissed about the national average and
Right.
then what it is today,
Right.
but the price increase based on the national average and the current price in New York where everything's more expensive is not
Yeah.
accurate.
You have to be
Right.
full disclosure. You have to
It's
give it
got to
all.
be apples and apples.
Right.
So the current price for a gallon of milk in New York is $9.39.
Holy balls.
Okay? The current price for a loaf of bread in New York is $4.69. Orange juice, 52 ounces, $7.39. A dozen eggs, $6.59.
Thank you, Richard.
A pound of chicken, $5.99. Butter is $6.89. Bacon is
Did you
$14.
say butter was 6.89?
Yeah, butter is $6.89. And bacon is $13.99 a pound. Apples are 206 a pound. So, I mean, the prices that they list here are the national average in 2020 was $3.32 for milk, and now it's $9.39. That's 182%. So like that's why it just feels wrong. I'll try to look up when you talk about these. I'll try to look up the current national average and see how far off it is.
That's insane. I mean, um, I'm just gonna the throw it out there. Like if you're blue collar, right? If you're one of the folks that's you have one job supporting your entire household, right? So you might have a stay-at-home mom because daycare is freaking ridiculous. So you might have a stay-at-home
Yeah,
mom.
not by choice. Like
Right.
you almost have to. We almost had to with the twins. It's
Right.
$3,500 a month for them to go to a
It's
one of the like centers because
it's
we had
an
twins.
it's another house payment or above that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so
luckily my mom retired and took them,
right. Yeah,
and
that's
we paid
huge.
her. Yeah, we paid her like just what the cost was, you know,
You've almost like if you're a working family, you've almost had to go back to the whole it's a village effort, you know what I mean?
for sure.
And so if you're one of those blue collar folks that's being supported by one job, which we know a lot of people who fit into that. I mean, we work with an individual who um their pantry's plussed up with whatever fish he can catch, with whatever birds he can shoot, with whatever venison he can take per year, and that all goes into his freezer, right? And
Hmm.
he feeds his family that way to because he's got one job. She's a stay-at-home mom. They've got plenty of little ones that they have to worry about. And that's how it works, right? So I mean, the average blue collar wages, I don't know, like I'm just gonna go off of some of the folks we work with. They make maybe 60, $70,000 a year. That almost you can't do it. You almost can't do it with these prices unless you're that individual who is out there on his own, hunting and fishing for his own protein that he's putting in the freezer, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's really difficult right now with those prices. $10 for a gallon of milk, $10 for some bacon, or it was even more than that, $10 for eggs. So if you want to just make, a breakfast for your family, I mean, you're looking at like $40 and just to make a breakfast. That's
Yeah.
that's at home. That's at home. That doesn't count like going to a restaurant. I mean, like I was saying when we were traveling for softball, we were eating out a lot, right? So
Hmm.
for me, it's $100 bill for three people
Yeah.
everywhere you go. It's $100 bill for three
Yeah.
people to eat a meal. It's insane. It's 10 years ago, it would have been $60 or $50 for three people to eat, and it would have been fine. I could have, you're doubling your what you can get done there. But it's just everything is just starting to just go nuts around here, man. Cost of living has gone up, and like you said, wages aren't increasing fast enough to keep up with the cost of living, right? Uh, and no fault of all these big companies, they're feeling the effects of it too, right? I mean, think about it. If the cost of living goes up, now all of a sudden this company has to change wages and increase their wages by 15-20% just for every employee. That's going to be hard on the company. So there's a huge initiative for everybody to come back to zero, right? There should
Yeah.
be a huge incentive is what I meant for everybody to come back to zero. And we're not seeing it really. I'm not how are you how are we going to handle this? Like where do we go?
I don't know. That's the crazy part. Like, I don't know where we go. I don't know what we can, how much can we put up with? How much more can happen?
Well, you and I have talked about this, and we've both come to the conclusion through numerous conversations that we can't afford anymore to have things go up like they have been. If we go another 2 to 3 years and inflation continues to rise, we're going to be not in the middle class anymore, and we shouldn't be in terms of where we were compared to 20 years ago. We make some pretty good wages, right? We're not
Hmm.
we're not uh we're not poor by any means. We're not rich, right? We're in that upper middle class tier. But if
Yeah.
it continues, if inflation continues to go, you and I are going to drop down into that lower middle class tier. And that's for me, that's heartbreaking for all the people who are below us. That what then you're on the system, but you can't be on the system because you're working. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to
Yeah.
just be homeless? Like what?
Well, I've told that story before, the lady I used to work for, and it was heartbreaking then, right? Like she literally, her son was born with a horrible disease, right? Like I'm not gonna go into any of it. Um, but she could not afford insurance. And when she did get insurance that she could afford through work, they would deny her, right? Now that's changed with Obamacare. This is about the only good thing Obamacare did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, back then, she literally could not work because she would get kicked off the insurance from the welfare and she couldn't afford it. She couldn't afford the insurance or not to have the welfare insurance that required them to have, it wasn't private, so it required them to cover it.
Yep.
Um, she couldn't afford not to have it,
Right.
and she couldn't get it through a private company.
Right.
So she was stuck living in Section 8 housing, and she wanted to work. She was very good. She wanted to, but she could not. She
Yeah.
could not go over the hours.
You're under the thumb of the system
Yep.
at that point.
Yep.
And it's almost doesn't it feel, I mean, this is going to sound kind of gross, but doesn't it feel like that's what they want?
Yes. Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that probably had the most effect on me as a manager, right? Like I'm not one now. Um, but at the place I came from, I man, you hear stuff like that and you don't believe it.
Right.
She There were a ton of times she was just in my office in tears.
Hmm.
Like she just couldn't.
Yeah.
So it sucked. Like that was very hard to deal with.
Right. And I mean, well, how do you deal with that? I mean, there's nothing you can do to fix it. You know what I
For
mean?
sure. For
All
sure.
you can do is support that individual
Hmm.
and be like, yeah, this is garbage. And how do you fix the system? You can't
Yeah.
even fix the system unless you elect political leaders who have the testicular fortitude to actually fucking fix the system. And we're not
Right.
seeing it because they're all in it for themselves. Right.
Well, it's the uniparty stuff, right?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
everybody's together. Everybody knows that shit's fucked up. Why we've said it a lot of times, even not talking about uniparty. The government does not solve any problems.
No,
When
no,
has the
they're
government ever solved a problem?
they're great at creating the problems and telling you they have the answers for it. only
Right.
to create more problems that
They
they then
create
can
new
find answers to.
problems.
Right.
Yep.
And it this is where we all have to come together. And
Hmm.
anybody who's listening to any of the podcasts that are talking about this stuff, we have to come together and we have to start pushing it in the same direction and we have to stop accepting it. Like
Hmm.
we've been lost. This nation's been lost to corruption and to the political elite establishment that does not care about you or I. They don't care. They're
Uh,
having their eggs and bacon and their people making them their food and
yeah, but honestly, they're not the top,
they're not
right?
at
It's
all.
like
No
it's the
near.
corporate, it's the
Yep.
corporations.
Yep.
It is 100% like they talk about Biden talks about corporate greed is the reason that inflation's so high. Well, that's not how inflation works. That might be why prices are high, but that's not how inflation's high, right? Like
Right.
that's a different rate.
Right. Well,
But
you printing money
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
that's how we're getting to inflation,
for
right? I
sure.
mean, if you're putting more dollars out there, it chases fewer products. Of
However,
course the prices are going to go up.
yes, it is corporate greed that has led to all this other stuff, and then they buy the politicians. We talked about the Supreme Court case, right?
Hmm.
That when they allowed corporations, so that corporations were a voice, like they get to have a voice, they get to they get to give money to the campaigns. That was it. That was it.
Yeah, when you were
So,
allowed to buy a politician
yep.
overnight,
Yep. So you
overnight.
need to fix that. So we talked about the things that need to be fixed. Term limits,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Balancing the budget,
Yeah,
making a law that it has to be balanced.
that's a chore. Yeah.
Um uh now I can't think of the other one that we talked about. Oh, the insider trading. That's
Yep.
got to go.
Hmm.
And now you can add this too. Redo the federal election law of the federal election finance laws on where you can get the financing from.
Right. You almost this is going to sound a little bit weird, but you almost have to have a scorecard, like some sort of
But and I don't want more government,
no, I
but
don't.
you almost have to have the government say this is what you get.
Right. You almost have to have a scorecard for each candidate based off of what their political agenda is when they're elected that they're telling their constituents to what they turn into in Washington. And
Well
if you
that
fall below your rating, you're out. Like,
well
but
that
you can't have
that
government do
should be
that to
the
government because
press.
it'll be weaponized. It should be, but we know it's not.
We know they're not going to be. They're part of they're all owned by the same corporations.
Right. It's propaganda at best at this point, right? And all of it turns into this big control tactic, this big control factor that goes into continuing to get those which we call the deep state, which is this is these billionaires that are buying government to continue to perpetuate their, billions in profit.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's honestly it's another version of I don't know, control or I don't even know what you would call it. It's almost like there's still tiers of slavery that are taking place. It's kind of what it feels like. It's never going to change. It's like they realized that they were never going to be able to keep slaves and they realized everyone was going to fight back and it was going to turn into a constant struggle for them. So they had to figure out how to do it financially.
Yeah.
And they've
Well,
won. They have it.
they certainly have got kept the classes divided.
Absolutely. They
Yeah.
absolutely have. And I don't know. That's a big thing for me. Like we were talking in the last episode how Black Lives Matter came out and they said, "Oh no, 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 not Kamala. Go ahead and we want an immediate."
Well, to be fair, they did not say not Kamala. They said we want this to be open and transparent.
Well, there was a lot of in
Well,
the
there's a
article that I
lot of
read.
people that don't want Kamala. They're more concerned about it being backdoored
Yep.
and corporate interests
Yep.
being what's driving it.
Well, no, the article that I read, the individual who was in charge of the BLM said Kamala's been
Yeah.
nothing but detrimental to the black community forever. So they just don't think she's genuine and they don't want her. And they're definitely pushing for an open convention where it can be open and transparent and it should be. And kudos to them. Like that why would you just unilaterally make that decision? And you said it in the last episode, I think you said something like everybody would buy into it if it went into the convention and it was voted on properly.
Well, I don't know that everyone would buy into it. You're still going to have people that feel like it was rigged one way or the other, right? So I heard on another podcast, it was part of the problem podcast. So a couple of libertarians, uh, and they were talking about conspiracy theories, like when you get down to like this level of them, right? Like some are real, there are some that are legit,
Hmm.
and not he wasn't trying to trash conspiracy theories, but a lot of them, like this one, right? Like so people are saying, "Oh no, it's rigged." You know, if you actually did an open thing, well, you just rigged it against her. But he said that it feels like that's just a coping mechanism, right? Like that's how you accept things. Like, oh, it's just a conspiracy. Now, that's not discrediting all conspiracies because what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and
About 4 months.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but there a lot of this little stuff. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be all about it or vote for somebody else. I'm just saying that there's a lot of the groups that feel like they can see where this is headed.
Yeah.
Like you
It's
guys are setting this up for this other thing, not the things that,
matter
not
to
the
us.
issues that matter to us.
Right. And that's the biggest part of this, right? I mean,
Yeah.
for, I don't know, since the 60s, the black community has been left behind.
Oh,
Point
longer
blank.
than
Point
probably
blank.
forever, forever.
Yeah, forever, for sure, forever. But since the 60s, since the equal rights movement had come out and things were taking place that long overdue, right?
Yeah.
Equal rights are starting to pile in
Yeah, I
and
see what you're saying. Once it felt like, oh, now you've got equal rights, whatever. Now we just kind
right.
of
No,
let
we
it
just
be.
they just
Yeah.
left him to the side and
Yep.
they've overlooked
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
And it's more than that. We talked about the system of oppression that the right just refuses to acknowledge, but that was instituted and put in place for control of the black vote, right?
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
now that same system is being used and manipulated and wielded against the middle class, right?
Right.
I mean, they're going in a different direction, right? We had upward mobility in the middle class and we were able to go out and have the American dream. Our parents had the American dream where they could buy far more with their dollar than we ever could, right? Prices were not terrible, inflation was not terrible. We're being uh strangled and choked to death by inflation so that the American dream will slip away from our kids. That's how total control comes in eventually, is because our kids aren't going to be able to afford anything. They'll have no choice but to take Klaus Schwab's great reset where you'll own nothing and you'll be happy and everyone's debt will be reset to zero. That's where this is heading, right? I mean, and if you
Yeah.
don't think that's terrifying, if you don't think that that's right around the corner, I don't know what I can do to help you see that. You know what I'm saying? They have openly said it with all of these elite billionaires in the Davos group, in the World Economic Forum, in the Bilderberg groups. It's just a way for them to reset the monetary system where they'll make trillions more and you're going to be indebted forever. I mean, that's what this is. This whole thing was a scam. And to see what the system has become, it's been hijacked, right? They've paid off political leaders to get away from the gold standard so they could make money. And as soon as they got off the gold standard and gone to credit-based system, they have used us and kind of it's been like a free for all. We'll print whatever we have. We'll print whatever we want. We're not basing anything off a standard anymore. We're basing it off a myth, right?
Hmm.
And you see them doing it right now. Oh, well, here comes more of a deficit. What do we do? What do we do? Should we pay this down? Nah, fuck it. Let's print more money. Is it any wonder why inflation is absolutely out of control right now? No, because we
Yeah.
have a bunch of morons who have gotten so used to a mythical system of, credit-based system. We're just gonna keep printing money
All right.
and then get
Go
bought off
finish
by
it.
China. It'll get bought off by China. That's what's happening. China owns like what, 30% of our debt right now?
Is it that low?
Yeah, isn't that low? I love that you said that. That's a scary thought.
I don't think it is that low. I think it's more than that. All right. I want to go back to the milk thing.
Hit it.
The national average was 332 in 2020. It is 428 now. So that is based on my math, which math's hard, is
Mhm.
a 29% increase nationally, right? So even right now, like look at the price of New York at 939 and the national average is 428. $5 more a gallon just for being in New York.
Jesus. I mean, well, why? What?
I
It's got to be like
taxes,
state taxes
everything.
and what
It's
else though? I mean,
probably city tax. There's state tax.
you got like a hey, your pallet's wet tax. You got
Yeah,
like
yeah,
what the hell?
yeah. There's probably a Green New Deal tax in there because it's
Yeah,
coming from a cow and it's not coming from a strawberry.
it's the cow fart
With the
tax. Like,
have you seen that meme with the reels with the guys looking at some kids talking about strawberry milk and he's drinking strawberry milk and he says it's
yeah,
vegan
yeah,
because
yeah.
it came from strawberries and they're
Right.
like, what? You
Milk
know that's
came
just
from.
strawberry flavored milk, right? Yeah. Anyway, uh
That's a lot, man. And it makes me wonder. I mean, that's New York, but are a lot of the liberal places like California, is that like that? Is Illinois? I mean, Illinois, a lot of things seemed a hell of a lot cheaper,
so I yeah, so some of them like it's not really fair to include Hawaii. Everything's got to get shipped in.
right?
So you can't really base that off of liberal policies.
Hmm.
But a $5.10 different per gallon. I mean, you could buy 2 gallons here for what it costs to buy 1 gallon there.
Yeah, just how do you survive in that? But also, I mean, if you think about it, how many people have we heard of, like number wise, that have been moving out of New York and going to other
Right.
places?
Everywhere. I mean, San Francisco, LA.
Yeah, you're starting to see these exoduses of people that are taking themselves away from that environment because they can't afford it. How could you afford it? If you're blue collar, you have no choice but to leave,
Right. Yep.
right?
Yep.
I mean, like you said, there's your Wall Street folks who are making plenty of money. Your white collar folks are still going to be able to stay and pay that kind of stuff down. But once your blue collar folks leave, there's nobody left for you to turn wrenches. There's nobody left for you to, you know what I'm saying? You have to
Mhm.
increase their wages to a white collar level to get them to stay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is insane.
Well, I
That
mean, companies can't do it, right? Like they
no,
just can't. And when you do that, right? When you increase wages like that, guess what else happens?
right?
The cost of everything goes up again.
Yep.
That's not solving the problem. That's just making the problem seem like it's okay for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're never gonna get if we're never gonna get a hold of this thing until we start figuring out how to pay down debt and stop printing money. You
Yeah,
know what I
so
mean?
I want to go back to that before I forgot before we got into the debt stuff because I have a bunch of stuff on the debt.
Hmm.
Um and inflation. One last thing on inflation. So they'll talk about core inflation. That does not include energy or food because those things change too often.
Right.
So like economists like looking at the core inflation to get a judge of where inflation's at. However, the PCE or personal consumption expenditures price index, that is weighted based off of what average people purchase. So
Okay.
it's weighted, but it's also um it better reflects consumer behavior, it says. So when you're looking for that, don't look at core inflation. Look for the PCE because like if you look during a couple of years during the Trump administration, PCE was negative, which is the right way. Like that is actually down, not just it's
Right.
rising at a lower rate.
The average person is being able to buy more with less.
Correct. And then it obviously jumped the last year of the administration because of COVID.
Right.
And then it's been sky high since. But I think that's at like,
And what you're seeing now is probably a ton of people reporting core inflation because they don't want you to they're not building your troubles and your sorrows at the grocery store into this whole thing.
honestly, I don't think some people realize the difference.
Right.
And the
Well,
government doesn't use it because, or economists, I should say, economists don't really use it. They use core because look at like what the administration did, right? Like they just release oil and it drops the price. Like, how are
mhm.
you supposed to get a good indicator of the economy if that's what you're doing? So
Well,
you cut that
economy,
out, right?
yeah, your economy is GDP versus your inflationary rates, right? So I mean
Right. Well,
that's what
that
we
but
need to get to is
to
figuring
get
out.
but you don't want them to be able to manipulate the inflationary rates that easily. So
Right.
you just get rid of it.
Right. Yeah,
So you do your core inflation. Because like look, food, even with food costs, like it depends on the weather patterns for that year. Like
yeah, everything does. That's the truth.
yeah. So
That's the
like
truth.
it's hard to judge that by year. Oh, well, this year was a drought. Like every year would have an asterisk next to it with the core inflation. So you just
Right.
go core.
Right. And this
But
year, obviously,
the real one for like for you to like what really resonates with people at home is going to be the the PCE.
yeah.
All
So
right.
let's hear it. What do you got?
I don't know. What do you want?
All of it.
All of it's gonna take too long. You want debt by just the overall U.S. debt, or what
I'm
you want?
guessing we're at what, 36 trillion?
Well, I don't know. Hold on, let me pull it up. Um, okay, so according to the U.S. debt clock, no, you're wrong, dude. You're so far off.
Like, how far?
34.9 trillion.
Yeah. That's,
That's next week, Ben.
yeah,
So
that's
the debt per citizen is $103,000. Well, this is the national debt, right? So
national debt.
the
Yep.
cost, like if everybody were to pay, it'd be $103,000 a person
Right.
per citizen
That's what we'd all have to cough up to pay off the
to
debt.
pay off the national
Man,
debt.
woman, and child, every single
Mhm.
American citizen.
Debt per taxpayer is 267,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes out the kids.
Yep. That's a lot of money, man.
hmm the U.S. federal budget deficit. Sorry, I'm counting commas.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out if it's 100 billion
Hundreds,
or
thousands,
trillions.
millions, billions. It's $1.8 trillion dollars, the
That's our
deficit.
budget.
That's
That's the
the
deficit in our
budget
budget.
deficit. Yeah. But
So next year,
that's going up like um $100,000 every like less than a minute.
yeah,
Like I can't count that fast.
when you watch that debt calculator go, it's screaming.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we're at a national deficit for this year's budget of over a trillion dollars.
Almost 2 trillion.
So we're
1.8.
adding. So we're adding to that, and it's not getting, obviously it's not getting paid down because we're at a deficit, right? So next year, by the end of this fiscal year, we should be at 36 trillion.
I would think so, yeah.
Wow.
I
Okay.
mean, based on this, since we started talking, it's gone up $2 million.
That isn't that's disgusting. That's okay.
I kind of want to leave this up. Man, I wish I was smart enough to figure out how we could just put this on our website.
Yeah, we should. We should have a link to that so you can just watch our debt.
No, I just want the debt clock.
But
Oh,
yeah,
it's got it broken down. Social Security is 1.4 trillion.
okay.
Medicare 1.7 trillion. Largest budget items. Medicare 1.7 trillion. Social
Hmm.
Security 1.4 trillion. Deficit set slash war 910 billion.
Okay.
Interest on the debt. So the interest that we pay on the debt is
Oh
902
man.
billion dollars. And that's
Nine
going
hu-
up. That's going up thousands of dollars,
a
like
second.
$10,000 every second.
Yeah. So wait, say that again. So 900 billion is being paid in almost a trillion in interest.
Yeah,
Ooh. Okay.
yeah. U.S. total interest paid. One, two, three, four, 4.6 trillion we've paid in
Did,
interest.
did you just count the groups of threes and zeros there to get to?
Yeah.
Good
I
Lord.
counted commas.
You have to freaking, yeah, it's because you don't, yeah, that's an insane amount of money. Okay.
hmm
Continue.
U.S. total debt is 101. These numbers are going so fast. It feels like those are pennies, but they're millions of dollars.
Ugh.
101 trillion
Oh my
U.S.
Lord.
total debt. Is that right?
101 trillion.
Yep. So that's gonna. I think that takes into account all the private debt too.
That has to be all of my debt, all of your debt,
Correct. It's
everyone's debt, and
all
the
the
national
debt in
debt,
the U.S.
and the
is
national debt.
is 100. Hey, what's after a trillion?
quintillion.
Is that what it is?
No, I don't know. I made that up, but it sounded right.
Google it. I'm still looking
Oh,
at this.
all
Oh,
right.
hey, there's a green one. Savings per family, $7,000. How the hell did they get there?
Oof.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't either.
Um, oh, how many is that? One, two, three, four, five. So apparently, household assets, there's $167 trillion in household assets. So if we just sold all of our stuff to somebody else, we could cover the debt and then have like 50 trillion left. Well, technically 68 trillion
I
or
just, I,
66 trillion.
I'm not sure there's anybody on the planet that has enough money to buy all of our debt. Uh,
Total US total national assets is $210 trillion or $622,000 per citizen.
oh, get this.
Yeah.
So I've Googled it for you.
I think
After it,
we've
after a trillion comes the number known as quadrillion. Then we have numbers following it, and these are the numbers quintillion, sextillion, septillion, octillion, nonillion, and decillion. So, yeah, that would have made sense if we just would have thought about
I
it.
think decillion is for deceased.
Yeah, because at that
We're
point,
all
you
dead.
don't want to be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to take us on that weird tangent.
No, that's
There's so much on here. I've never really looked at like the actual usdebtclock.org.
it's terrifying.
It's got it's got from the trade balance, the small business assets, corporate assets, household assets. It's got this is crazy.
Okay, so here's
Total worker compensation.
listen.
Yeah.
Uh, I know that I wasn't going to get political with this.
You're one of them.
No, no, I'm
You
not one of them. But you have scared me now by giving me all these numbers of all these things.
well, can we just fire them all?
That's what I was gonna get to. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
Kamala, no. Biden, why the hell do we put Biden in this position? Like we did this off of feelings and not liking Trump. Who
Well,
the
I
hell
think
we need people. Where are the people that are super smart that can look at this stuff and be like, hey, if we just make this trade deal and we do this and we do this and we do this and this, we can lower the numbers here. Like,
they're the
I'm
ones
sorry.
selling the mythical loans.
Yeah, exactly. Nancy Pelosi's not cutting it. Lindsey Graham, sorry, you're not cutting it. Like, wait, can we get rid of how do we just get rid of politicians and say, sorry, you're out? Like, we
Term
need
limits.
that's not gonna happen. Like, we need like, what is it, a petition? Does that
Well,
work? We can be like, sorry, California, but your politicians are morons. They gotta go. Oh, sorry, New York, your politicians are morons and they gotta go. And
people have to
sorry,
wake up.
75% of the Republican Party, your politicians are morons. They
Yeah.
gotta go. I mean, this debt clock is insane.
Hmm.
It's insane. You're talking, it's going up millions of dollars in seconds.
Hmm.
That's
I wish I
that's
remembered what the number was when I started, but we'll do the number right now. And it's going too fast, so I'm going to start at hundred thousands. Right now it's at 34 trillion 965 billion 671 million. Okay.
yeah.
Now we'll keep going. Remember that number.
Bro, there's way too many numbers in there for me to
Just
remember.
remember 671.
671.
That's 671 million.
Unreal.
That's going up
Unreal.
that fast, like you gotta start there. Uh no, I there's only one way to do it, and that's a constitutional amendment that's done by the states. However, the states have to vote for it. And it's never going to get on the state ballot because the state politicians are just as corrupt. They're just
Mhm.
like the junior thugs, you know? Like they're still working their way up to the the fucking crime family. They're the ones that are going out and knocking off trucks, whereas these guys are going out and knocking off banks, you know?
Oof. I the debt clock, bro, like it scares me. This
Yeah,
whole thing
I
is
don't
terrifying.
know. I don't know what without a constitutional amendment. You're never going to solve all that stuff. They're never going to vote for term limits for themselves. They're never
No,
going to vote that the budget has to be balanced.
nope,
They're never going to do any of that. No,
nope.
I used to work for the agency that was the reason that there was no debt way back when, but now we have all the free trade stuff and
Hmm.
you're not taking any money in off of that. And so, that's one of the biggest things. Like, yes, it costs more for consumers then. However, you talk about culture and you talk about, listen, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Like this whole trying to keep up with the Joneses thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that's going to make other things more expensive. However, maybe you really don't
Well,
need that thing then.
listen, I mean, it seems like every one of these things has been a grift for a long time, right? The wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, we got
Yeah, the
attacked.
wars don't help anything for
No,
sure.
we get attacked, and immediately the response is it's a grift, right? I mean, we go to war, which needed to be done, but we go to war, and then it's no bid contracts. The next grift that comes in is like, hey, healthcare for all. And then, hey, guess what? We're going to invest in these three companies, only these three companies, and then we're going to sell our stock right before they collapse. It's a grift. And then it settled down. It seemed like it settled down after that. And then now it's like, hey, the Ukraine grift, hey, the green energy grift, hey, it's everywhere. And we don't have the money for it. We don't have the money for it. I get it. Every one of us wants a cleaner planet. Not a single kid in the United States school system was raised on anything like, hey, you know what? Let's throw trash out the windows and burn as many plastic bags as we can. That seems pretty legit. We were all raised on cleaning the planet. Every one of us wants a cleaner planet. There's nobody that disagrees with that. You can't bankrupt a nation to do it. You know what I mean? You can't kill
Yeah.
your power apparatus to do it. Your grid's not even set up for green energy. You can't get rid of all the coal plants you want to get rid of because when there's clouds in the sky, you're not making solar. And when there's no wind, you're not making, wind turbine energy. You need your nuclear facilities. You need your
Mhm.
coal and your gas plants. Or you're going to be in California where, you have no air conditioning in the summertime because if you do, you kill your power grid. You have brownouts, right? So I get that all these agendas seem like they're great ideas and maybe they're the way of the future, but it's not right now. So stop killing everyone. Stop robbing everyone blind. Stop killing our nation with this fear tactic that, oh, the world is going to end in 10 years. You've been saying that for 25 years now. It hasn't happened. Oh, well, the ice caps are melting. Yeah, they've done that before too. And then it led to another ice age. And, this
What
is cyclical.
was that video? Was that with you that we were watching a video on like the rate of melting right now, like to how long it would take to melt to get to the levels they were talking about? Was that video with you?
Yeah, that's in the
Well,
same video that
what was it like? Was it like,
I don't remember. It
I
was
don't remember how long.
astronomical. It was
Yeah, it was
years.
like,
It was,
it was like thousands of years.
yeah, it was like centuries. But
Yeah.
on the same side of that, remember, it was that same video that they said there's more ice in the Arctic than there ever has been.
Yes.
And we're
Correct.
like, wait a second, I thought shit was melting.
Yeah.
It's making more ice than it ever has been. Well, so what's real, what's not? And that was the something oceanic society that was, saying this. It's not a far right, not a far left. It's just a scientific group that's out there studying core samples.
Well, they're studying the melting, right? But they're
Yeah,
not studying. This is what I'm talking about with the inflation numbers for the food. They're comparing apples and oranges. So if they're just looking at the rate of melting versus the rate of ice being built,
being formed. Yeah,
that,
right. I mean,
right?
you're picking your argument, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the grift comes in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It seems it's the blind leading the blind, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I we can't afford it, you and I. I'm not talking about the rest of the world. We can't afford it if this goes on for another 5, 10 years. We're gonna be poor. We're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to keep up with the rate of inflation. We're not gonna be able to keep up with the prices of milk. New York's not gonna have what they're not gonna have people that can stay there. They're not going to have any middle class there. And maybe that's the plan, is to kill the middle class. I've heard so many people talking about that they're just trying to strangle the middle class. They're trying to create lower class and upper class and separate the two, and the upper class controls the lower class. And I don't know if I believe that yet, but it seems like it's going that way in some places. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it just it's frustrating, man.
Mhm.
It's so frustrating.
All right. So now do you want the debt numbers by the top five presidents?
I kind of want you to look at the debt clock because it was 671 million you told me to remember. Now I want to
Yeah.
know what that's up to.
Um, 692 million. Went up $20 million in that conversation.
Okay. Yeah, we're screwed. We're screwed.
Mhm. Give me a minute and we're gonna go up in actual, damn, not long. We're gonna go up $1 billion. So that'll be fun.
We're screwed.
Yeah.
I wonder if we can find every other nation's debt clock. I want to know if everybody else is just screaming like ours is.
What nation would you like?
China.
Well, that number is not public. Come
Right.
on. Pick a public. China's debt clock is negative.
China's like in the green
China debt clock.
with a big CCP flag next to it.
Here's what I got. World debt clocks. It's a page.
I can't believe it. Oh, of course
US
it is.
34 trillion, China 14 trillion, Japan 13 trillion, Germany 3 trillion.
Japan, huh?
Uh-huh. They got to deal with tsunamis and stuff like that.
I bet you that's what a big of it was.
The
Yeah.
Fukushima
Fukushima
thing.
Daiichi stuff. Yeah. I bet that was huge.
UK is 3.8 trillion. Well, I thought these were in order until Germany was less than, oh, it's about in order by country, its size. Well, that's not true because China's got
Way
about
more.
1 billion more people than we do. Let's see. France, 3.7 trillion. Canada, 2.3 trillion.
We are crushing everybody at being bad with money.
Yeah, you really phrased that kind of fucked up.
Yeah, at least
We're
we're good at
crushing
something.
you. Hey,
At least
China, we're
at least we're
kicking
good
your
at something.
ass.
We're good at something, right?
Saudi Arabia, 364 million billion, 364 billion.
They're such a oil-rich country. They profit so much. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's hard to imagine they will ever be.
Well, I'm surprised they even have that much.
Yeah, it's probably the line, honestly.
Dude, let's see. Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
Wow. Wow. National pride in our debt. We should 34 trillion. China's the next closest with half of that, less than half of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Thank you, Washington.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, and I think their half is ours.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
The debt that they bought off of us.
I was looking
That
at
still counts as
they,
debt, right?
yeah, they own 40% of our debt.
So I was
Four,
right.
40
30
point,
was too low.
yeah, 40.7% of our debt.
Sweet. Can they buy the rest of it and we can just be debt free?
And then we're like, hey, guess what? Great reset. Got you.
Yeah.
That's a terrifying thought. This is how world wars start, off of stuff like this, when you can't pay your debts.
Hmm.
And you're already seeing Saudi Arabia went away from our petrodollar, right? So they're not trading in US dollars, which is a huge blow to the United States in terms of money that you should be making off of
Well, that was
people.
The Chinese push.
Hmm. And if child goes back before and is recognized as a world currency, right, to trade in,
Mhm.
um, that immediately could really screw us. And I think they're coming up this year. They're gonna apply again.
For what? Oh,
Um,
the World Bank, what they base off of.
yeah,
Is that coming up already?
it should be in a
Is it?
year or two.
how often do they do that?
Okay, so um, China's got to go again before the IMF, right? The International Monetary Fund. That's who decides if you're a tradable currency, and it's based off your GDP. And the last time they went through, uh, their GDP was right there neck and neck with ours, but they were denied.
Yep.
Um, GDP, gross domestic product, right? So that's
Yep.
that's your economy. That's how they decide if your economy's on the rise or not. Um, so China's economy is projected to grow by 5% in 2024.
What's ours projected to grow at?
It doesn't list ours,
Okay.
but they were neck and neck with us last time around. And the only thing I think that stopped them from becoming recognized as a tradable currency by the IMF is us, right? That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, if they can move past us in GDP, they could be recognized as a tradable fund, and that would essentially, from what a lot of economists believe, it could cast us into the dark ages in terms of money. Uh, our
Hmm.
inflation would skyrocket. I've heard things like hyperinflation would kick in, and it'd be crazy because then the world would stop trading in dollars and start trading in yuan, right? And when we trade in dollars, we get a kickback off every trade that's conducted in dollars. So we're making a ton of money off trading in US dollars.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to figure out when they go again. It looks like they're coming back. Uh, they'll apply again to be recognized by the IMF as a tradable currency 2025.
Okay.
So it seems like they can continually apply, but
Okay. Yeah, because the U.S. economy, it's not going to grow at 5%.
no,
It hasn't. I mean, it hasn't hit those. Not even being like negative towards the administration currently. It just hasn't been the quarterly updates or whatever. It just has not been anywhere near that.
I remember Trump's highest was four something, I thought. I'm
Right,
gonna
and
look that up.
they thought it would never get above 3.
Right.
Now, the only thing that I think will keep China from getting it is that they manipulate their currency.
Absolutely. Remember they devalued the yuan
Yep.
so that they could.
Yep. So I think that's where it's gonna stall them again. Like they could have incredible numbers, and no one's gonna at any whim they could take it and just crash it to crash all the other nations. And
Mhm.
that's what they're not gonna do.
Oh, so in this, they averaged the GDP growth on this website, and it has Obama, Biden, and Trump all at 2.3, and George W. Bush at 2.3 or 2.4%. Um,
They average like
the
12
whole
years
the
together or what?
no, their term. So like over the course of your term.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's kind of disingenuous because if you come in as say Trump and your GDP was shit the year before
Yeah.
and you're struggling to get your economy back up, your first year is a wash, right?
Well, then you had COVID.
And then you had COVID, so it drops you down into a category that isn't the
Yeah.
greatest. So I got to find something a little bit more accurate to what
Hmm.
without COVID, without, any of that crap.
Hmm.
And certainly part of Biden's is scrap too because of COVID.
Right.
So uh Trump came in and he was plus 2.3% in 2017. He was at plus 3% in 18. He was plus 2.25% in 2019 and plus 3.7% in 2020. And then COVID hit and it went down.
I thought he was in the fours.
He was in the, I mean, I think
That's the
this is all,
average.
yeah. So, I mean, if 2009 it was 2.5%, 2010 it was 2.6%, 11 1.6%, 12 2.2%, 2013 1.8%, 2014 2.5, a big year in 2015 at 3.1, and then 2016 was 1.7% growth. So, and then the funny, I mean, this is kind of comical. This is how you know this is kind of a BS article.
Yep.
They give you all these numbers, right? So I just read you what it was 2017, 18, 19, and 20. Those were
Mhm.
the years of Trump's administration. They averaged him out at 0.95% GDP growth over his 4 years.
Oh,
So it goes on to say that uh, here's a look at the average GDP growth rates under the last six U.S. presidents. Jimmy Carter, 3.25% GDP.
what?
Yeah, Ronald Reagan, 3.48%. Now that sounds about right. George H.W. Bush, 2.25. Bill Clinton, almost 4%. George W. Bush, 2.2%. Barack Obama, 1.62. Trump,
Well,
0.94.
Clinton had NAFTA, right? So that's what made that sky high.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurt us, but
Well, in the long run, it did
yep,
it killed
yep,
us.
yep.
Yeah, man. It's dangerous times. I mean, if we don't figure it out, um, if we don't figure it out, we're cascading downhill.
Mhm.
And like I said, for me, I'm not just focused on what it costs at the grocery store. That's huge for me, right? For me and for almost any one of the guys who's served in our nation, who's kind of been there, done that, they're also looking at, you know, what's on the horizon.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at what's on the horizon, not because I'm afraid I'm going to have to go fight China or Russia or North Korea or
Hmm.
Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Venezuela. I'm not afraid of this axis of powers that are being put together by China and Russia, that it's me that's going to have to fight. I'm past that. Unless this fight happens in the next couple of years, I'm past that, right?
Hmm.
It's my kids. My kids are going to have to fight that. Your kids are going to have to fight that. And I think a lot of us who have served are kind of seeing that. And we're kind of paying attention to it because um, China's posturing, right? They're, I mean, for on an amazing twist, they're creating their own islands so they can put airfields on islands closer to where they want to be,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
They can't master the aircraft carrier. They're just going to build islands and island hop, right? They're going to take a play out of the Japanese
Hmm.
playbook and do the same thing, right? And you have Russia saying they're not afraid to use nukes if we continue to get involved in their business. You have China now with nuclear capable submarines with stealth tech. You have all this stuff that's going on, and none of it seems to be getting better.
Well, did you see the incident with China and Russia before Biden's Oval Office address?
Where they were intercepted by NORAD, the
Yeah,
bombers. Is that what you're
two
talking about?
two bombers from each country flying together.
hmm that's not with Russia. That's not new. They've done that. You're talking about out
Nope,
in
I'm talking
Alaska
about them being together.
together, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's new, right?
Yep.
You have
They
two
both do
Soviet.
it and we do it to them. Like,
Yeah,
you don't think we don't fucking buzz their airspace? 100% we do.
right.
But
If you tell me that's not posturing, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Tell me that's not well, we're training together right on your doorstep because at some
Yep.
point, if you keep this up, we're gonna fuck your world up.
Yep.
Now, the good news is it's good and bad, right? And here's the good news. The good news is uh when America wants to be, we're the biggest, baddest motherfucker on the block.
Yep.
We honestly could probably fight off most of the world at the same time alone
Hmm.
with what we have with just a few allies that we need, right?
Yeah.
So and what we saw with Russia and Ukraine, uh,
Not,
Vlad,
not really worried about Russia.
your military's garbage. Your pilots suck. Your commanders are awful. I don't know who has been leading your group in this war effort. You guys fucking suck. And then China's really untested and unproven, but they have a lot of manpower. And what
Hmm.
scares me about China is their hacking ability, their ability
Hmm.
to, really wreak havoc on our infrastructure. I mean, we just saw that, though it is a CrowdStrike BS, shut down
Yeah. Shut down
flights and
almost everything.
everything, right? And if China's probably learning from that, so they're gonna do whatever they can before. I mean, that's gonna be the next big wave of attacks is before any kind of assault, it'll be some sort of massive attack that's cyber that'll take
Yeah.
place before any of that, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, but I'm not really worried in terms of fighting their military. Now, the bad part, that's the good news. The bad news is we've weakened ourselves beyond belief with this whole DEI bullshit in the military and this whole if you're a boy and you're toxic masculine, you're bad. Um, we've neutered our boys in this country. And when you and I grew up, we were 8, 9, 10 years old. We wanted to be part of the big three, right? Four, if you count professional athletes. Every kid, every boy grew up wanted to be a firefighter, a police officer, or somebody in the military because that was heroic, right? They've gotten rid of that toxic masculine shit. The all cops are bad thing has weeded out cops. Uh, Toxic masculinity has probably weeded out military. So you have firefighters left over. They seem to be still a thing, but it's gotten worse than that. So this is starting to become an issue with our country, and you're starting to see it. Our recruitment numbers are down. They're terrible. DEI is killing us. You're gonna see a draft next war that's major. You're gonna see a draft. You have no choice.
Yeah.
I'll have to get
Which
the
is why
numbers.
they redid the draft.
Yeah, and they had to, right? I mean, I have to get the numbers from some my buddies on the inside who are in the recruitment groups, but it's awful. People don't really understand. Like recruiters in the military have to hit a certain number a month, or you don't get to stay in the recruitment group. It's like an assignment. You don't get to stay as a recruiter, right?
Mhm.
Um, and the numbers what they used to be were I'm spitballing here, but we're like 4 to 6 a month that you had to put in the military.
Yeah.
So if you were an army recruiter, you had to put 4 to 6 kids in the army a month, and they averaged that out over the quarter. And if you weren't hitting your numbers, you got yanked off assignment, right?
Yeah.
And you got sent back to whatever unit you were from. And everybody loved that recruitment assignment because it was a cake, it was gravy, cakewalk. One of my buddies, I was talking about the numbers that they have no choice because the numbers are so bad that there would be no recruiters if you're yanking them all off of their assignments. So they're dropping those numbers. And I got to get the numbers back from him because he hasn't told me what the number is, but he said I would be laughing hysterically if I knew what he was expected to do. Then he said he was struggling to even meet that. So I want that number before I say it.
Yeah.
We'll share that on another podcast, but it sounds like it's getting really hard. And if you have a broke nation and you have a morally, bankrupt nation with your political leaders and your elected officials, and you have a military that's in decline, you're really ripe for the picking if you have a couple powerful nations like Russia and China and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
that's what I look at. I look at the future for our kids. You know what I mean? Our fighting days hopefully are behind us. I shouldn't have to pick up a rifle and be any part of any solution in that regard. But I feel like my kids are going to have to, and that's a scary, scary thought because anybody who's ever been there and done that knows how awful war is. And a war on American soil, I don't want that, and I don't. That's a nightmare.
Yeah. It'd be crazy. It'd be just that image of a war on American soil. Like think of all the people like you would be picking up a rifle then, like it's not going to be what I don't want to have to. It's just going to be you're gonna like all the people with all the guns and it'd be crazy.
It's not out of the realm of possibility in the next 10 years. That's the scary thought, right?
Mhm.
Whether it be a civil unrest, civil war type war, or whether it be China, Russia, this group that decides, you know what, I'm done listening to America and they're so weak now, let's go. Now's the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that 100-year rule, right? Every 100 years, world powers are challenged to either maintain their world power. Every dynasty, it's been the same for centuries. Every
Mhm.
100 years, there's a challenge, and you either pass that 100 years and go on for another 100 years, or you fail. And we're coming to that point where it's like 2038 or 2040, where we're coming up on that 100-year rule.
Yeah.
We'll
That's
see how it
crazy.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's scary times, man. And
Hmm.
you shocked me with the numbers. Like it's, I did
Well,
not ex
I didn't want to stop you, but we've hit 100 million.
100 million.
We're at 736 million.
Oh boy.
So we went from what, 621 to 736. That's just
Yeah.
million. So 34 trillion, 965 billion, 737 million.
in 10 minutes.
Well, it's longer than that, but in the last hour, $100 million in an hour.
$100 million an hour of debt.
Yep.
They're just, it's water to them.
Yep. Just doesn't matter.
No, no, it doesn't. It's free. I mean, it's free money, right?
Kind of.
Well, that's what it is for them. Everybody's, think about this. How much easier would it be to spend money that's not yours than to spend money that's yours?
Well, but at some point, yeah, I understand your point. At some point, we're not going to have any money to pay the deficit,
No.
right? Or to pay the interest on the deficit.
Oh, don't talk. That's scary.
So, and you're talking like within 10 years,
Yeah.
if they keep spending the way they're spending
hmm
without raising taxes significantly.
I wonder. I've heard this in the past, and I've never looked in at it. And I think I heard it on the Bongino show. There's the potential to seize bank accounts and take whatever people have in their bank accounts in an emergency declaration to pay off whatever they have to.
Sure. I'm sure there is.
And I think he used Greece as an example of that, or whoever it was
Yeah.
that just went through this,
Yeah, I think it was Greece.
and they were all up in arms about it. And we'll have to look into that because this was maybe a year or two ago, listening to some of the economic talks. I wonder if that's a thing. We have to look that up. I bet it is. I bet that's true. I bet they can take, sorry, we're going to freeze everybody's assets and I'm taking 50% of what you have to pay off the debt because it's a national emergency.
Yeah.
And you get to that point, and when we do get to that point, not only have you already taken 40% of my taxes and blown that because you're so bad at your job, right?
Yeah.
Now you're taking 50% of what I have left over.
Yeah, but the good news is, oh, at least for my bank account doesn't have the $101,000 sitting in it. That's going to cover my part.
Right. Right.
Well, that's a citizen, so we'd need what, 400 and some million dollars here per
Yeah.
taxpayer, 267,000.
Right.
Yeah, that's not there.
Definitely not. So I
There
mean,
might there I could maybe cover like the $67 and change.
see previous conversation about us almost being too poor.
Yeah. Let's see.
So
Oh yeah, I could cover the $171. I could cover that part.
yeah, I don't even want to cover that part.
The
So
267,000 part, you're gonna have to find that somewhere else.
so when I started this, I talked that inflation was ridiculous, cost of housing is ridiculous, mortgage rates are unaffordable, food prices are insane, gas prices are insane, crime exploded, the border's open, China's been
Borders.
aggressive everywhere.
Yep. The
Israel's
foreign
struggling.
policy, the world's on fire.
The world is on fire. Civil unrest here at home. It seems like the left will always find something to create civil unrest, right? I mean, before it was George Floyd, then it was green energy. Now it's Palestine. It seems like they form these groups and they almost they're professional, like civil unrest agents is what it seems like.
Yeah.
We have DEI. That's a huge issue I talked about, and then the trust fact, the lack of trust for government, for
The
investigative bodies, the media, and we talked about it being a giant failure, and it's a lot, right? So if you're picking your candidate, I'm not going to tell you that all Republicans are going to solve every one of those problems, right? So if you're
They're not
look at
going to.
look at your state level, go to your local level. I'm not telling you that the Republican is the answer to every single one of those problems. What I am telling you is what I'm seeing right now, that with just the free handouts to illegals, free handouts to Ukraine, free handouts everywhere with the government right now.
Yeah.
If that's going to continue to happen and you're voting the left to continue that, we're screwed, right? We can't have it. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep being a piggy bank for the world.
Yeah.
And a piggy bank for those that just don't want to do anything in return. So, uh, when you're picking your candidate, that's your responsibility. That's what you have to, I mean, look at what candidate's going to best align the future for your child, the future for your grandchildren. And if you're looking at like Kamala Harris and thinking, well, she's going to save this planet. She's going to save this planet with green energy and this Green New Initiative. Remember, they were the same two that talked about creating all sorts of green jobs. Name one they've created. Kamala and Biden both said green jobs are going to happen, right? That's what's going to happen. Name one. What green jobs have they created in our country?
I'm pretty sure they created a green energy czar. That's one.
Yeah. But Axios will probably say that that person's not the green energy czar.
Yep.
Uh, I can't honestly tell you what they've created because we haven't heard anything about it, right? And
Right.
you could bet that if they created all these jobs in the green energy sector, we would have heard about it. So killing jobs in gas and coal and oil while not creating any jobs in the green energy sector, that's an issue, right? So they're not going to save your planet. They're not going to save your they're just not. It's not going to happen. So they don't care. It's disingenuous. It's a grift. It's just a power control apparatus. That's all it is that they're using. So when you're looking at saving stuff for your kids, saving this planet for your kids, first start with saving this country for your kids. Then we can worry about the planet.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to come up with something.
I see you digging. What are you digging for?
I don't think it's going to tell me. I was trying to figure out how much the average citizen paid in taxes, but it just gives me a percentage. It doesn't give me a dollar amount. Americans in the most common tax bracket paid an average income tax of $4,000. Well, that's 2020.
I want to know what percentage of their wages, though.
Well, it's like 14% of wages is you can find that. It's like 14%. But I wanted to see how much the average person, how much average it was, right?
Hmm.
And then to maybe we can fix the deficit by the typical taxpayer pays about $14,000 each year. There you go. 14,000. So will that be taxpayer? So let's cut that in half then. We'll say half that. So the 20 million illegal immigrants, if we got them on the payroll, that'd be 140 billion. That's it. Think about that. It's only another 140 billion, and you're going up 100 million every hour.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah, there's nothing you have to cut spending.
Spending. Where do you cut it? And it's going to be they're never going to stop giving money to the organizations that are going to give money back to them.
Then you have
That-
to increase taxes, and then where are we at? Then we
Mhm.
need higher wages, and then what? Then there's more. It's like it's never going to end.
It's a cycle,
You either
right?
have to stop giving out the handouts, or it's just never going to end.
Yeah. And yeah, that's sad, man. We're not, you and I, we've talked about it over and over again, right? We're not going to have Social Security when we hit that age. It's just not going to be there for us.
I don't think it can be.
It
Um,
can't.
but that I have an article here calling that the a gigantic Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
And
Well, it is.
it you don't earn any interest on it. If they had set up the same thing where they took it out and forced you to put it into a private account, you would have made a ton of money.
Hmm.
But no, you're not. And other people are getting that money now. Social Security is paying for the illegal immigrants right now. They're taking it out of Social Security.
Right. Which just means it's going to drop even faster. So
Yep.
if you're somebody in your 50s right now, mid 50s, you're going to get way less than you deserve by the time you're in your late 60s, early 70s because they are chewing up. They're going through that thing so fast right now.
Yeah.
And but we're going to be probably you and I will probably be the first group in our late 60s that doesn't have any money for Social Security based off of that debt clock. There's just they're not going to be able to afford it, right? Now we've
Yep.
spent from the time we were, what, 16 years old, 15 years old, our first jobs, we've been paying into a system that's robbed us. By the time we get there, our political leaders will have robbed us of a giant portion of our wealth that we could have had, um, that we'll never be entitled to.
Yeah. So this article that I have about the Ponzi scheme
Hmm.
says that in 2023, the Social Security Board of Trustees reported their report estimated that the program's funding obligation shortfall had swelled to $22.4 trillion through 2097. So you're doubling the national debt.
Right.
It was a 2 trillion increase from the estimate given just a year prior.
Wow. I wonder where that increase came from.
Long-term cash shortfall That's what it is. Yep.
I Yeah, it's where it's not going to be there for us, bro.
No.
Uh, Unfortunately, for people underneath us, you're going to work until you die. If you don't start
If you
setting
don't
this is
start saving,
if you're not setting up your retirement accounts now, you're going to work until you die.
you got to do it. Your first job, you got to do it, and you got to keep rolling them over
Yep. Yep.
because it it's just it's not going to work any other way.
Mm-mm. That's tragic, you know. I mean,
Hmm.
that's a program that our elderly deserve to get money back for paying in for as long as they have.
Well, everybody that's paid in deserves to get that
Correct.
money paid out.
Now, this is gonna be controversial, and I don't care because I don't give a fuck about controversy. But if you're one of the people on welfare, um, that have been soaking up free funds because you don't want to have a job, that's a problem. The welfare system exists. I have no problem having some of my pay sent to somebody who can't because they're disabled, can't work, right? Zero problem whatsoever. The strong should take care of the weak.
Mhm.
Um, but weak doesn't also equate to lazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that has to be fixed as well. And if we don't get a hold on that, I mean, that's honestly, that's why I would like to see the difference between welfare and Social Security and see which one uses more. You know what I mean? See which one is more
Yeah.
is the bigger drain on society, the bigger drain on us. Uh, I would guess that um, it's almost a zeroed out. It's almost a wash. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
You put in like 6.4% every year,
yeah,
6.2%. So they each person, so your employer puts in 6.2 and you put in 6.2,
okay,
right?
so
So
12.5%.
12.4% per year.
Mm-hmm.
If you put that away for every year that you worked, like I don't know how it's not just a criminal organization.
Well, I mean,
Like
it
the
goes back
US
to
government's making the money off of it.
yeah, of course it is. It's
Well, they're
another
not making money off of it, but I mean they are, but they're just spending it somewhere else.
right. They're taking your money to spend it where they need it, right?
Well, at this point, they're taking your money to pay out the people before, but that's how it started, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I mean that's exactly a pyramid scheme.
hmm.
But unfortunately, the pyramid collapses before we get there, bro.
Oh yeah.
There's almost you almost have to there's gonna have to be some kind of event where everybody just resets worldwide.
Yeah, what's that going to be?
Yeah, I don't want to even think about it.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, isn't it? I mean, this our political leaders have been so bad at this for so long. Um, how many of them have millions and millions of their own personal wealth that they've gained while being a politician?
All, all of them?
Right. Here's where you can start. Nancy Pelosi can give back all the money she made outside of what she was paid per year in her wages. Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, Lindsey Graham, Paul Ryan. Go down the list of all these politicians that are multimillionaires now. And if you're an active politician with more than what you've made, uh, and you've made your money through investments, that can come back. Start paying off the debt that way. Like, why am I being raked over the coals while you get to insider trade, while you get to continue to keep your power, while you're terrible at your job? If I were as terrible at my job as you are at yours, I would have been fired years ago.
Yeah.
But for some reason, some other rich person can give you a bunch of money to take out a political ad and lie to your constituents where you're just full of shit because you're not doing your job, where you continue to rape us constantly with your poor spending habits and your bullshit. Like even during COVID, they're passing these budget packages to send freaking money to the liberal arts. Like what? What?
Yeah.
What? I don't
Yep.
think these people need, $25 million so you can continue to have them available to entertain you when you
Hmm.
want to be entertained. Fuck you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And this is what they do, man. This is who they are. And I it's frustrating, man. It is.
Hmm.
It
It
is very
is
frustrating.
for
Nine
sure.
dollars for a gallon of milk in New York.
Yeah.
Um, the first revolution was fought with on the premise of taxation without representation, and it was over a 3% tax.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
do do the thought process, follow that thought process.
Yeah.
We're at like 40% in
Yeah, but
taxes.
you're missing the point. We get representation now.
Yeah, yeah, whether you like it or not. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's different. It's
yeah, it's
different.
it's
Yeah.
totally different.
They're stealing our money. They can because they say I have a voice.
I represent you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is priceless, bro. I love that. That's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
different.
it's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
Oh
But
yeah. Well, this is a good talk, man. This is a little bit out of our wheelhouse because we don't usually do this kind of thing, but
mhm.
I don't think either one of us is. We've had ideas about political candidates. I like RFK. I like Trump. Obviously, Trump's my guy. Um,
What? Are you
yeah,
sure?
I don't know if people know that. I like Vivek. I like uh I like candidates that are outside of the power structure that have proven that they're going to do something that's good,
Hmm.
right? That can't be controlled.
Hmm.
Um, and some of them say the right things, and some of them I just feel will do the right things. But out of everybody, the only two that I know who will do what they say and who have kind of walked the walk is RFK and Trump.
Yeah.
RFK has done what he said he would do, and Trump has a track record of doing what he said he was going to do once he was in the Oval Office, or trying his best that he could,
Yeah.
fighting what he could.
He just he has a problem with figuring out the right people.
Yeah. I mean, the swamp is so deep.
I'll give him last time he probably wasn't aware how deep it was. But now, like, if that's true, what RFK had said about who he wants to pick for treasury and all that, like, if those names are accurate, which I haven't seen anywhere else, so
Yeah.
they might not be. It's a political
What was
opponent,
it?
so who knows?
Larry Fink or whatever his
Yeah.
name is.
Yep.
If you're Trump and you choose anyone from BlackRock, you just lost me.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's true, like, then you
Hmm.
really haven't learned your lesson yet.
You lost me.
Yeah.
I can't take anything you're gonna say serious if you're choosing people that are robbing this country. I can't.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess maybe it's one of those situations where it's keep your friends close and your enemies closer, or maybe it's a situation where you have to use your enemy to benefit what you can benefit.
Yeah.
But I I'm sorry. I don't know that I can take anything else you're gonna do seriously if you're putting the CEO of BlackRock, who is in charge of destroying a lot of the fabric we have here in this nation
Hmm.
through the use of power and money. I just can't. I don't think I can take anything else you say seriously. So
Yeah.
if that does come out, um, man, like overnight, maybe I go back to Ben Carson being my boy. that's
Yeah.
that's kind of how unfortunately, it's sad, but that's the reality of it. If you're saying you're gonna fight the good fight, then you fight the fucking good fight.
Mhm.
Be who you say you are, and like say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah.
Show me at this point. Show me. Um, yeah, I don't know. And like I've been trying, I've been just like you digging to find that because that's a big deal to me,
Hmm.
and I can't find it yet either.
Yeah. So again, it's a political opponent, so who knows? But
Yeah, but honestly, RFK does not seem like the
he
guy to
hasn't
me.
thrown out crazy shit like that
That's what
before.
I'm saying. He
Yeah.
hasn't been the guy to me that's just going to come out and put somebody on blast if he doesn't have inside info.
Yep.
And
And
to
we
me,
do
that
have that call that Trump did call him and
yeah,
talk to him
hmm
and basically wanted him to drop out and endorse him and join the table. And so I don't know, maybe he asked, maybe that got that far. Well, who are you gonna do for this? And who are you? And he had that, and that's what he said. And that's when RFK is like, you haven't learned anything.
right. I don't know. Time will
That's
tell.
all. That's hypothetical, but
Time will tell. And like
Mhm.
you said, that's a big deal.
Mhm.
That's how you lose. I don't know. That's how you lose people like myself and people like you that are on the, at the heart of this thing, I lean conservative, but I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. At the heart of this whole thing, it's a constitution that I'm about, right? And we've talked about it, and you're either for it or you're against it. So the leaning has to be in support of the Constitution. And if that means that Trump is going to continue to rape this country by putting people like Fink in charge of places that are going to continue to screw us over, well, then you're not our guy. Like, and I hope that enough Trump people who are on board with Trump right now, if this is just another ploy, if we find that out, if I don't even know how what I want to say. It would really it would crush me, I think, to see that that would be the case because I have faith in Trump to do the right thing, but you can't appoint thieves to be in a position where they can continue to rob the American people and then think that anybody who's watching will continue to support you.
Yeah. Nope, I agree. And I just hope that like it's not what everyone thinks it is, and maybe it was just a report that was out there that because he has a business relationship with that guy,
Hmm.
who knows? But you'd like to think that Tulsi and Vivek and these other anti-establishment people would be like, dude, you can't do that.
Yeah, I
Because
man, at this
if that's what you're doing, you're going to lose all of them, and then the whole
right,
cabinet's the same again.
right. Oh yeah, for sure. And you'd think at this point you've learned your lesson and you know who the scumbag players are
Hmm.
and you know who you can put in your cabinet. And I mean, and I think we'll get a signal right off the bat, right? If we see Vivek and we see Tulsi and we see even if there's a spot for RFK in the cabinet, if he starts putting people like these in his cabinet after this is all over, um, that is going to be a giant signal that okay, deep state, it's game on. We're
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
If he doesn't, I don't know what to think.
Hmm.
But if he doesn't put those people in and he at the same time uh puts like a Fink in there, yeah, you lost me.
Yeah,
You better come through with every fucking promise you've had on the campaign trail. Then really his promise right now on the campaign trail is to destroy the swamp, right?
yeah.
Return the power to the American people. That's all he said.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. You haven't given me a plan on how you're going to do that. I'm all about it. I'm all about giving you the chance to frickin' to fix this apparatus. But if you don't come out on your campaign or you don't come out if you were elected and actually come through with the promise of that and you put Fink in there, you're just another giant piece of shit that was a cog in the wheel of the establishment. And that's going to be a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You have 70 to 80 million supporters who are believing in you right now that you're the guy to get this done. If you turn your back on these people, they're going to lynch you. They're going to rip you out and be like, you betrayed us. That's dangerous. So I just don't think he can be that guy. I'm praying he's not that guy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
There's, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's disgusting to even think about.
Hmm.
I'm already pissed off just even having that conversation.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I think we've talked over and over, huh?
Yeah. Think so.
Let's wrap.
Got a couple angry 4-year-olds stomping around upstairs.
They're letting you know.
Yep, they are.
They want some dad time.
It's
You need to take them for
time's up.
ice cream and swimming and get this done because those princesses are not going to wait.
Nope, they
Yeah.
aren't.
They're hilarious. They're cute. They're cute as hell,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, thanks, man. You want them?
No, nope.
Yeah.
I've been there.
They
It's
got
your
my
turn.
attitude.
Yeah, it's your turn. I've been that route. I'm good.
All right, fine.
I've got two teenagers who keep coming down here and giving me the death stare because they want me to take them to go do something, and I don't know what that something is yet, but it's probably expensive. So
Yep.
there's that.
Well, have fun.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm sure it will be a blast.
Yep. Right on.
All right, brother. Well, again, we'll talk about what's going on in the next one, but I don't even know where we're going to go with that. I think we got like Olympic stuff we want to cover maybe next time.
Yeah, I think there's some action today out of Paris.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There was the threat from the IOC to the Salt Lake Games.
Yeah, that's garbage, huh?
And then obviously the original event that had stemmed from that with the Chinese swimmers all testing positive for a banned substance.
Yeah, for doping.
Hmm. So we'll see what happens. There's a um
Hey,
they're
listen.
not calling it a terrorist attack today, but it's essentially a terrorist attack today that targeted the rail system. Nobody was
Yeah,
hurt from what I understand. It was just that it shut down the rail system.
you told me that. That's insane.
So we'll talk
Yeah.
about that next time, see where that goes because it was climate activists. So that's why it's
Yeah,
not terrorism.
yeah, right.
But
It's not terrorism.
yeah.
And it's also great for the climate when you burn shit. So that's
No,
cool.
it's that no, it's a negative and a negative, so it's a positive.
That that that's yeah, in their minds that's so dumb
Yeah.
that it probably
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably
So
reality.
it's math, bro.
It's gluing your hand to a
Yeah.
yeah, to the floor in some auto dealership where he's like, "Yeah, I'm here. I'm shutting off the heat and I'm shutting off the
Yeah.
lights.
Yeah. Good
Have
luck.
fun. Have
Yep.
fun."
Good night.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in the next one. I'm kind of looking forward to that because I'm getting tired with all the politics and all the bullshit, but it just seems like there's so much craziness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there'll be a lot to cover with the Olympics. I mean, matches have started the last couple days, all the team event stuff
Yeah.
that they have, like
I'm ex
soccer and
I'm
uh
excited, bro. I love the Olympics.
I am too.
I'm more of a Winter Olympics guy, but I love watching, athletes in their peak form.
Dude, Summer Olympics are where it's at. Like I like Winter Olympics too, but
Hmm.
Summer Olympics are the original.
I like bobsledding, bro. I just
Yeah,
love seeing it.
bobsledding is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one where I can't remember what it's called, but
Skeleton.
yep, the one where they're going down by themselves on like a sled,
Oh,
face first.
the luge. Oh,
Luge,
so
the
there's
luge.
luge that they go feet first, and then I think it's skeleton that they go face first.
That's the one I like, the head
Yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah,
That's insane.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
That's crazy.
there's some awesome track events that I was watching leading up to this where some people, made it into the Olympics that were unexpected. So hopefully
Yeah.
they're doing well. Some
Yep.
of the ladies that beat out others it was impressive.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, it'll be a lot to talk about.
Yep.
It'll
So
be refreshing. We need
yeah,
it.
it'll be a change.
Yeah, we need it.
Unless, of course, there's another major twist in the campaign.
Yeah, I don't want to.
By
Yeah,
by then we'll know who the VP is probably for
it's
Kamala.
yep, yep. And I'm sure they'll come out with some diagram how Trump wasn't shot at. It was like a meteor that
Well,
fell,
the
and
FBI guy already said it.
yeah, Ray. Yep, it's
He
shrapnel. It's
it
shrapnel.
wasn't a bullet.
Listen,
Well, no, he said I don't know. He's like I essentially basically said because they asked him, I mean, you're under oath, right? Was this a
right,
bullet? And he basically said, I don't know what it was. Like it took off a piece of the ear. That could have been anything. What
right.
what was it likely? A bullet. But I can't tell you it was.
I. It doesn't matter if it was or it
No, of
wasn't. You know
course
what I
it
mean?
doesn't. And
The
he
event
was,
still
but
happened.
now the media's cutting it up that, oh, he didn't get shot. And now there's the big
Right.
story about how he's not wearing a bandage,
And the
talking to
way
Netanyahu, and
yeah, but
the ear looks fine.
he's missing a chunk of his ear at the
Yes,
top
but
left.
it looks fine.
Sure, yeah. But here's the deal, right? And here's how you have to handle this if you're Trump or you're anybody else. Just tie it to the military. Okay, if it's shrapnel, do you get a Purple Heart in the military? All right, and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Tie it to the military. That's your win right there. So there was military guys that got a sliver of shrapnel that got a Purple Heart. So are you saying that they don't deserve it? And just watch the media be like, well, tie it to that. But yeah, it's ridiculous. And let's hope there's not more of this because I really would rather just focus on the Olympics for about a solid 2 weeks and just let this go and come back to it and see where it is. But you're right. We're going to end up covering something because it's like every 10 minutes now something comes out.
Yep. That's a video. Don't play that. I see you looking
Okay.
at your phone. I just sent
Yeah.
you. Speaking of the Olympics, it's from opening ceremonies.
Oh boy.
All it says on there is, what the hell is this crap?
Okay.
And it's
Yep.
somebody dancing and singing that. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk
If
about it next time
oh my
because
God.
apparently that's going to be a big episode.
Okay. Oh, I don't want to even. Yeah, you're right. I'm not going to look at it right now because I'm going to
Yep.
be pissed. I'm going to be
Yep.
mad, right?
All right. Yep.
Am I
Let's
am
get
I
rid of
going to be
this
mad?
Minnesota goodbye. Yeah. Oh
Am I
yeah.
going to be mad?
Yeah. Text me later.
Okay. Let's get rid of this Minnesota goodbye.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, give it a spiel, bro.
All right. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Truth. We got a website, We're trying to get it.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get it set up where we're on more than just Spotify. So hopefully we're on Apple soon by the end of the weekend and some of the other ones, YouTube, a couple of the
Yep.
other ones. But yeah, we'll put something out when that happens. So
The tech stuff is your world, bro, and I
no,
appreciate you for it
dude,
because
I
it is
can't.
not easy.
Dude, it's taken me like 3 days to get an Apple ID verified because I don't have Apple stuff. So
Yeah,
whatever, without using my own personal one.
right.
So anyway,
That's
we'll get
tough.
it figured out.
Right on. Well, everybody who's listening, had some text messages. The message you sent me earlier about Will wanting to get in touch with me. Will got married again, so congratulations, Will. Got a great looking family going on there, so that's good to hear. It's good to hear from people that are watching this and or listening to us and seeing things and getting stuff that they agree with out there and sending us some advice and whatnot. So that's always cool to see. So congratulations, bro, and hope everything's going well for you. And everyone else, thanks for hanging with us and stick with us. We got a lot more coming. We got a lot of plans coming up, and we'll get there. We're going slow, but we appreciate the support.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Well, you take care, and Pat, good luck with those princesses, brother.
Thanks, man. You good luck with your shopping trip.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's like
Yep.
the greatest dad time ever.
Yep. Carry my bags.
Sit in a corner and wait.
Right on.
All right, everybody. Well, you guys take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See ya.